Hi, welcome to our session, the last session for this week, supporting inquiry-based hands-on learning in preschool. So what is hands-on learning? We need to find out how can we engage children into inquiry-based, which means prompting children to have that motivation and engagement in learning what is spontaneous, learning that comes from within, and they're interested and engaged in doing what they do. So let's see, what is inquiry-based learning? So it is a way of teaching and learning that is primarily student-directed, which means child-centered. Children are in the center of this kind of learning. Students explore, investigate, research, study, and pursue topics based on curiosity to increase their understanding of the world. So it provides the children in the driver's seat in a way, but that necessarily doesn't mean that there is no structure, there is no organization in the classroom. There is. You as the leader or the teacher of the group, you are the one who's leading it, who is the facilitator, but at the same time, the children are geared towards a form of learning, which is inquiry-based and hands-on. Why do we use inquiry-based learning, or what to do, or what do we learn when we are using inquiry-based learning? Students learn how to learn. It's not what we tell them to, but it's different forms of ways that students learn. Primarily, students learn through exploration and experiment and learning through their senses. It encourages higher level of skills, which means students become keen on observation, reasoning. They analyze what they're seeing or understanding, and then when they apply it, there's development of critical thinking skills. They're able to observe something, see something, understand what they're seeing. Then they're using their critical thinking skills or reasoning skills to comprehend and then successfully apply it or effectively apply it in situations. So this is the kind of higher level skills or habits that we are looking forward to formation in an inquiry-based, hands-on teaching or learning environment. Creative thinking and curiosity is stimulated, absolutely. This form of learning encourages the children to develop creative thinking skills. Creativity is flourished because they have the privilege and the choice to work towards and touch and feel and smell and see and comprehend. And that's the form of creativity that is forming. And what they're learning here, maybe in this particular experience when they are engaged in one activity, is the knowledge that is being gained and retained that they are going to use effectively in another situation in the future. That is our goal, actually. Student motivation and self-esteem increases with the control over their learning, because when children are exploring, discovering, feeling, touching, using their senses, it provides a sense of motivation, which we have talked about in one of our previous training, that happens or comes from within. And when it comes from within, no one has to tell them to be engaged. They gear themselves towards that form of learning. And self-esteem, they feel good, they feel confident, and that's what also prompts them to learn more and engage themselves more effectively. And learning becomes fun, which is what is the goal, our primary goal of having children to get fun and enjoyment and happiness from learning and be engaged in learning voluntarily, not because they're coming to school and they are forced to do it. So that is what is the practicality, or how we engage children in a method of inquiry-based learning. Knowing the 5 E's of inquiry-based learning. So what are some of the most important things that we should always keep in mind for engaging children in an environment that helps the children to be self-motivated, to be energized, to be happy? Let's see what they talk about. So the first thing is the 5 E's. The first E is encouraging, or engagement. So we should create an environment where children have the opportunity to be actively engaged in the environment, in the activity itself. Explore, and the activities or the classroom setup should be in a way where they're able to explore, and exploration is through their senses. What they can feel, they can see, they can touch, and they can hear. So using all their 5 senses to explore or discover. And then explain. So what do you see? What do you think about this? Is the explanation that you ask them, and when they explain it, what you do, assessing their knowledge that they have gained or their prior knowledge, your goal is to explain to them in simple term, age-appropriate term, and then explain in a way where you can build up on that knowledge. And the next step is in the 5 E's is elaborate, and you expand that knowledge so that knowledge can be successfully applied in the future. And evaluation. So after this is done, you evaluate and you find out, what did they gain? What did the children gain and understand from this particular activity, in the student-centered activity, and how this knowledge can be applied effectively in the near future? So the 5 E's are engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and then evaluate. And then it kind of goes into a circle again, back to exploration. So if you can plan your classroom activities in this way, keeping in mind that you are going to engage children where there's going to be flourishing of this kind of engagement in the classroom, then your classroom is going to become more vibrant, more active, more effective, and the knowledge that the children gain is going to build a strong foundation for them to be applied in their future learning also. Now let's talk about hands-on learning. And in simple terms, if we don't get into anything intricate or more complex, it is learning by doing. Simple term, everybody can understand it. When children do it in practicality, that is what is called hands-on learning. When they are using all their 5 senses, that is called learning by doing. So kinesthetic, experiential, or hands-on learning. This is also other names that we can call hands-on learning. Kinesthetic, using by doing, using your senses and muscles and everything, or experiential, that you are experiencing what you are doing. So that experience is what teaching you, and it is also known in simple terms as hands-on learning. And what is it? It is a combination of different kinds of learning, like visual learning, auditory learning, and it also engages the children actively. So, we do know that children have individual learning styles. We each, as individual, someone is a better learner, like auditory learner, which means listening by listening. Someone is more like visual learner. They can see, when they see something in front of them, it helps them to learn effectively or better. Some of them are kinesthetic, which means they do learn by doing. But it is also a combination of all skills. We have to see it, we have to hear it, we have to do it all together to make it effective. So an environment which is hands-on, it should provide children enough opportunities to learn while doing, actively be engaged, doing it, and using all their senses engaged in the classroom. And let's talk briefly about what are some of the benefits that we see if we can engage children in that kind of a hands-on learning environment. It encourages the children to think independently. Of course, when you let the children experiment, touch, feel, discover, explore, it kind of provides that free environment where children feel very positive, and they will they are encouraged to think independently. They will come up with solutions on their own. They will think in multiple ways. So any kind of outcome is not just one answer. They are thinking in a wide platform, and they will come up with a variety of answers. It engages them into discovery and exploration and engagement, experiment. If this doesn't work, they will be self-motivated to go and try another way. So that is one of the most important benefits of hands-on learning. Children learn to be better problem solvers. So while they're doing and exploring this, they will be able to figure out an answer to a problem as well. So it kind of slowly develops that problem-solving skill, which is a skill that has to be used in our entire lifetime. The more independently we are able to think, the better we are as problem solvers, the better way it is going to make us prepared and be effective and successful in our adult life when we get into the real world or get into academic world, or later on in our professional world. Everywhere these skills are very much needed, and it is our responsibility as teachers and caregivers to instill these these attributes and knowledge into the children and make them prepared slowly. It allows children to be active and interact. So while they are being engaged, they are constantly interacting. So think about it. It also gives an opportunity for language development skill, vocabulary development skill, and as well as social emotional skill development when they learn to work together, to share with each other, to put their efforts together and understand that the collective effort is so much more needed. It's like each one is a piece of puzzle, and all the puzzles put together is what builds the strength. Helps in better retention of knowledge. Of course, when we do something, it helps us to better retain that knowledge that can be applied successfully later on. It provides the children to make a choice. Absolutely. They will be able to make better choices as well when they are in an environment where it's hands-on learning activities are available for them. They learn how to take responsibility. Yes, when they're doing this, they feel themselves good, and they are willingly taking to how to take responsibilities, which is another very important, I would say, character trait that is going to last or needed our entire lifetime, be it in our social setting, be it in our family setting, be it in our professional setting. Learning to take responsibility is absolutely necessary, which makes a man or a woman, an individual, successful and be good enough and effective in the society. It helps children also to increase their attention span, because when children are engaged willingly and voluntarily, and they are working towards something where they find interest in, they pay attention to it, and it helps them to build up attention skill. And how does that help? When they pay attention and they're actively engaged, they are also able to see and learn and then apply that knowledge, and they can see the connection between their learning and the real world, and how effectively they can apply that gained knowledge in the world or the environment around them. Hands-on learning, or inquiry-based learning, these two things go hand in hand, and it encourages children to nurture an interest. Absolutely. It creates that willingness inside a child to be able to be interested. And it also helps the children to develop, because each child is unique, and each child has different variety of interest. So this also helps the children to identify their interests and nurture them and kind of follow their dream towards fulfilling that interest as well. It promotes and honors child-led learning. Absolutely. It helps us as caregivers or teachers or parents to promote and help the child-led learning, which is a child-centered learning. Provides intrinsic motivation. Absolutely. Motivation can be provided with outside resources, but that motivation doesn't last long. So until the children feel that inner urge to feel motivated from inside, our purpose of teaching children does not become fully successful. It fosters curiosity and active engagement. They're actively doing and engaged in that activity. And what it does, it kind of builds up that sense of curiosity where children will do or experiment or touch, feel themselves to satisfy their inner curiosity. It promotes self-regulation skill, which is one of the most important skill development in children, where they have control over themselves. They cannot do whatever they want to do. They cannot say whatever they want to say. They have to follow certain rules. They have to think about other people's feelings and opinions. And what it does in the long run is to promote this sense of self-regulation, that we have control over our actions and our own self. It promotes deeper knowledge and creates an urge for children to look for more knowledge, to look for challenges. And that, when it comes from within, serves the purpose of learning, which is our job as early childhood teachers and professionals, is to rekindle and always keep that interest inside children alive. It prompts them to ask valid questions. Always engage children and encourage children to ask questions. And the more questions they ask and their inner urge is satisfied, it builds up a lot of critical thinking skill, it builds up knowledge, and learning becomes more effective when children are self-motivated to ask a variety of questions. Children are active participants. In this form of learning, hands-on learning environment, children are always being active. Your classroom is going to fortunately look like a well-oiled machine. Children know what they're supposed to do. Children are engaged, and which does what in the long run? It kind of curbs or eliminates behavior issues in the classroom, because children are engaged. Children are feeling happy and having fun in doing what they're doing. And what it makes your job as a teacher easier as well, because classroom management becomes much more, I wouldn't say it very easy, but much more effective, because you don't have to address issues like behavior problems. It happens, but it happens a lot less. Children are problem solvers. Yes, it builds that curiosity in their mind, and they're actively engaged, and they're always looking for that kind of challenge. So they become better problem solvers. And problem solving is a skill that is needed in our entire life as we get on with our life forward. What is your role as a teacher? What do you do to make this kind of learning happening in your classroom? Be active, share your own passion and enthusiasm. If you are not interested, if you do not believe in what you are doing, if you don't share that enthusiasm in your voice, in your tone, in your body language, and you are not actively engaged with the children, learning is happening, but having that piece added, it makes learning more effective, and children will be better responding to this kind of environment when they see an adult or teacher or parent being engaged with them. Let children share their passion and interest. Provide children the opportunity not only to do it, but to also share their feedbacks, their interests, and their what they're thinking, what they like, or what they would like to see. So these kind of things should happen freely in an inquiry-based hands-on learning classroom. Provide opportunities for positive feedback. Provide children specific feedbacks when you see them achieving something, or they're being successful, and they are successfully applying that gained knowledge in another setting or in another situation as well. Be specific when you provide your feedback, giving them or letting them know what you are giving this positive feedback for what. Provide opportunities, a variety of opportunities. Gaining of knowledge should be from a wide variety of experiences, and you can distribute that or choose activities and create an environment where all domains of early childhood development is being touched, which is primarily your physical development, cognitive development, social emotional development, language and vocabulary skill development, and creativity or creative art skill development. So all these developments are happening simultaneously, and it is your role as a teacher to be able to help children gain knowledge and connect the interest and the knowledge gained by the children, and to show them how they can be applied successfully in the world or in the environment around them. So when the children see a real life experience and they can see how their learning is connected, or they can successfully apply their gained knowledge, learning becomes more effective. Be encouraging and appreciative, absolutely. Use that tone, your body language, your voice, your language itself, what you are saying and talking about, with the children. It conveys a lot. It conveys a lot through what you are saying, or sometimes what you are not saying. because it could be verbal or it could be non-verbal. And children are very good at picking up cues. They understand that very well. Be flexible. Keep an open mind where there is structure, there is organization, but at the same time, there is also flexibility in there for the children to be able to have that room where they don't feel stressed out. And let the whole environment be child-led. You are planning it, you are organizing it, you are holding the rein as a teacher, but be flexible enough and be open-minded and provide children choices to be actively engaged in the classroom. Let us talk a little bit about, because in order for children to be engaged in hands-on learning, they have to have motivation. And motivation can be two ways: intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. So what is intrinsic motivation? It comes from within ourselves, which is our inner passion, our urge of engagement in an activity for interest and satisfaction. So when motivation comes from inside, which is our goal, to create an environment to self-motivate the children, it comes from inside. They are engaged in any activity because they're satisfying their interest and their curiosity. Extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is engagement or for a motivation that it could be from getting a reward, that if we as adults say, hey, we're going to give you some stickers if you can do this, complete this task. Or there's some fear or a punitive measure, means punishment, which at all stages should never, ever be applied, because that kind of an environment causes a long-lasting harm to the children. And what it does, it disassociates children, and they are non-engaged, in the long run. So learning is not effective when any kind of, extrinsic motivation is applied or needed to engage the children. So I always think about that our goal is to develop self-regulation, which means children have control over their actions. They understand and know what they're supposed to do and then make the right choice. And also, the children should not be consistently getting anything from outside, or there is fear of punishment, which prompts them to be engaged, because learning in that kind of an environment is never lasting and never effective. So that is the reason I wanted to give you an example of how we can get them motivated intrinsically. So our goal, and we can say, what does this kind of learning help the children? How does it help? Hands-on learning help the children. It challenges them. It encourages and empowers them. It self-motivates the children. It acknowledges children's achievements. It teaches. It offers praise to the children. Helps the children to explore, experiment, discover, and also to assess it, to come to a conclusion, and they see why something is happening and what is the outcome of this particular experiment or experience. That is our goal, to why we should create an environment to intrinsically motivate the children to explore, to discover, and gain knowledge, which is voluntary, where children are happily engaged and they are enjoying and having fun. Critical thinking skill development and hands-on learning. Critical thinking skill in an environment when there is hands-on learning being practiced, critical thinking skill development happens voluntarily. And this is very important. So how does critical thinking skill help the children? Let's talk a little bit about that. So critical thinking skill help you make strong decisions and effective decisions. So if we can help the children from an early age and stage, provide them the tools and have them to learn the strategies to develop problem-solving skills, that kind of habit or that kind of mindset is going to last a lifetime. So it can be scary to make big choices on your own. When you use critical thinking, however, you ask many different sources for information to help you choose the best options. So in this case, in a hands-on learning environment, when children are experiencing and experimenting and discovering and assessing, what it does, it provides them multiple ways to solve a problem. And when they face later on in their life, when they face challenges, what it does, this form of skill development helps them to try out different ways to solve the problem or to address the problem. So this sort of higher thought process or critical thinking skill development helps the children in the long run to be better problem solvers. And we all agree, if we cannot solve our own problems, life becomes difficult. And that is our goal, to provide the children the tools to make them successful and develop that sense, in that confidence, that sense of independence in their minds to make those right, effective choices and become successful. Principles of student-centered learning. Let's see something, talk about how we can make learning student-centered, because it has a far-reaching effect on children's learning. So student-centered learning does not have a one-size-fits-all, or in another term, cookie cutter, that everything that every student does the same thing the same way. And it's mostly teacher-directed. When I do assessment in classrooms, and I do it on a regular basis, and I observe the teachers, I can tell where there is spontaneous learning happening, where children have the choice to voice their opinion, to experiment, explore, versus everything is teacher or adult directed. So our goal is to make it child-centered and meet the individual needs of each child. Students have different learning styles. We have to understand that. Each child learns in a different way. And our goal is to make it effective to help all children with all different kinds of learning styles to be able to get the food or what they are getting from creating an environment where they are actively engaged. And students have also, like I said, different individual needs and interests. Absolutely. It is our goal as teachers to create a student-centered learning environment where children can satisfy their different needs and also follow their interests. Choice is central to effective learning. So we help the children to make better choices. We provide them with opportunities where there is not just one way of doing certain things. There's at least a couple of ways to come to an outcome. Students have different experiences and background knowledge, which I have talked about in multiple trainings about scaffolding, which means building up on the existing knowledge. Depending on the environment they come from and their interests and the opportunities, you will see each child has different levels of experience and different levels of knowledge. So our goal is to build up on their existing or their gained background knowledge, which they have already come with. Students should have control over their learning, but that necessarily does not mean that students can do whatever they choose to. It's not. It is structured, it's organized, it's planned, but at the same token, children feel happy and independent to be able to explore and experience. Student-centered learning is about enabling and not telling. This is a very powerful term, and I think it kind of summarizes the whole concept of student-centered learning, that it is not enabling, it is not merely saying you need to do this. It is not enabling, not telling. It is not about enabling. It's about them able to do what they're doing and not just telling them what to do. Because when you are enabling them to do something, they are finding the reason behind it. Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? And what is the outcome of this particular experience or experiment? And that is our goal, and not our goal just to dictate them and be an autocrat teacher and tell them only to do what I want you to do. So this is the purpose of or principles of student-centered learning, and our goal should be slowly to create an environment where children feel free to experience and participate and be engaged and gain this kind of knowledge. Now, you can use this and you can handwrite it in our early childhood, or it can be done with adults as well. It's very freely and easily done. It's called the KWL chart. And children who are little older, I think between 4, 4.5, 5 years old, this could be a very effective tool for them that you can do in a classroom. You can use a white piece of big paper or a poster board, a chart paper, whatever you see. So KWL chart, you can put the name of the activity, whatever is the topic, and the K stands for what I already know about my topic. So in this column A, column K, what you need to, before you even let children participate in the activity and you are talking about it, tap on the children's previous knowledge, what they already know, and you write them there. What do they already know when you talk to your children? And then you tell them, today we are going to be doing this activity. So what do I want to know about my topic? So the W stands for, what do you want to know? And when you ask these questions, children are going to come up with a variety of answers. And you document that in the second column, which is W. And then the L column should not be filled out at this point. The L column stands for what I learned about my topic. So after the children have participated and be engaged in that activity, and you have some brief time for review, you can come back and then you go to the L column and you ask the children about their experiences. What did they learn? How did they like it? Whatever they tell you, you just document that. So then, overall, summarizing this whole activity successfully, you can say, hey, children, look, when we first started and we discussed about what we are going to be doing today, this is what you knew. And then you told me, what would you like to know more? For the W, and read through them one by one. And then look what you have gained and how much knowledge you have learned from doing it and participating actively. And then you read through your column, whatever you have documented in the L column. I purposefully added this KWL chart it can be used in any setting with any age group, and it instantly gets your children engaged and energized to learn or look towards learning more. Okay. So it's a simple thing. You don't have to buy it. You can create it on your own in a classroom with a piece of paper and a black marker. Helping children to be ready for the future. And there is a saying called 21st century learning, because learning has become completely different between the time when our age group we learn versus you who are mainly now the young age group in the working force. Learning has gone through different stages and transformations. And what does 21st century learning promote? Self-efficacy about my own, what am I doing and how am I feeling my effectiveness. It promotes to develop that. Motivation, absolutely. We talked so much about motivation. Children should be self-motivated. Problem solving, absolutely. Children should be provided skills and tips and strategies to develop skills in them for problem solving. Metacognition, thinking about different levels of thinking that children can think about at different levels and planes. Creativity, to develop creativity in children where they experiment, they explore, they touch, they feel, and it develops a lot of creativity skill in them. Conscientiousness, absolutely. They should be conscientious about them, their peers, their parents, their teachers, society at large, because if we cannot build that kind of skill in them, and we don't want to raise a generation of zombies who are only interested in themselves and nobody else. Collaboration, yes, collaboration is a great tool for learning. How we collaborate with each other, help each other, share with each other, experiment and actively participate with each other to gain knowledge. That should be also a skill that is applicable. And critical thinking skill development. We can have training, a whole training on critical thinking skill development and how we can do that and what we can do to create an environment to energize and engage the children in critical thinking skill. And perseverance, sustenance for the children to not give up easily, to develop that skill of facing challenges and not giving up and then achieving it. That should be also taught. So these are the qualities that we as teachers, caregivers, educationists are, our goal is to develop these skills in young children. As you all know, in India, there is a national education policy that 2020 or NEP 2020. And what are some of the key principles of National Education Policy 2020? We're going to talk briefly about it. And I was very happy and impressed to see how it is going to engage the children. And there has been a great, a portion which is on early childhood development. So just to talk about, we can see where it starts. Number one, respect for diversity and local context to be reflected in all curriculum. So diversity and inclusion is a key thing, that we are different. We learn, we have different learning styles, and our goal is to recognize and help the children also to be respectful towards the diversity of their peers or their world around them. Number two, equity and inclusion to become the cornerstones of all educational decisions, that everybody is treated equally, there is equity and fairness and honesty and inclusion. So inclusion means we not only have regular children being part of the program, but our goal is also to engage and include children with special needs. Now, unless they have severe specific needs that needs one-on-one attention, research has proven that if we have their children with special needs in a regular classroom, they learn better. Community participation. We can have collaboration, partnership with different agencies and community partners to be able to contribute and be part of our program as well. That could be, children going to the local supermarket, or inviting a doctor or dentist, or inviting someone who, a gardener who works in the garden, takes care of the garden and our yard, things like that, a nurse, a firefighter, a policeman. So community partnership also helps the children to see what's happening around them and the people who are part of the community. So that is another thing that is talking about. Use of technology, absolutely, for technology, which it says here, in teaching and learning, and also removing language barrier, because technology, even if you teach, speak a different language, which we do, India is a country, we call it unity in diversity. Different parts of India have different customs, different language, different food habits, but it still binds us together. That is the uniqueness of our great nation. And so use of technology can be technology can be used to bind or engage children coming from different language, when they speak, their home language is different. Emphasis on conceptual understanding, learning for exams with no rote learning. It's not that I just learn and I memorize it and I just kind of put it out there just for the purpose of clearing a test or an examination. Learning is conceptual learning, meaning engaging the children, which we are talking about. That is the reason I included this slide, that hands-on learning is what helps us to gain all these knowledges that are being emphasized in the National Education Policy 2020. Unique capabilities, recognizing, tapping in each children, which in a clear term means meeting the individual needs of each child and recognizing the uniqueness of each child that we have in our classrooms. Critical thinking skill and creativity, and to boost logical decision-making and innovation, because helping the children, giving them the tools and the tips and the strategies, and giving them that environment to consistently experience, explore, and experiment provides them an opportunity to develop critical thinking skills, which is very, very, very important for children to be successful citizens. So having that said, to summarize or conclude our training today, what did we learn? Hands-on learning experience can be created in a very simple way. You don't have to buy very expensive materials. You can look around in your classroom and figure out and choose themes and have your curriculum set up in a way where children feel that connection with the real world and the environment around them, where the knowledge gain can be effectively used in their practical life, where we provide the children the opportunity to use their senses, where children have the opportunity to learn through doing. And that is what is our purpose of creating an inquiry-based, hands-on learning environment that will help the children to learn and help the children to excel in doing and gaining skills for their future adult life or their life as they step into the real world. So with that, I conclude my training today. I hope you have learned something and you will be able to apply this knowledge to implement and include in your classroom and help these children to meet and utilize their potential. Thank you.